where, as you can see behind me, South Louisiana continues to feel the effects of Danny. Danny did sweep ashore South Louisiana today, causing some low-lying flooding, lots of wind and rain damage. We will have a complete report on this hurricane named Danny coming up later on the Eyewitness News magazine. We'll have that later in the show. Let's now go to Ed and Andrea.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Eyewitness News magazine. As John mentioned, on this day, Hurricane Danny made its way into Louisiana. I'm Ed Buggs.
And I'm Andrea Clessy, and as John said, we will be going back to Kaplan, Louisiana via our News Star 2. We'll also be going live to the National Hurricane Forecast Center in Miami Beach, Florida. Pat Shingleton will have the latest on Hurricane Danny's location, but first let's take a look at what's been happening with Danny today, Ed.
Andrea, Hurricane Danny at this hour is losing strength. Danny came ashore, barreling into Louisiana at about 10 o'clock this morning with highest sustained winds 95 miles per hour. But perhaps the biggest shocker of Hurricane Danny is where it was at nightfall last evening and where it was today when the sun came up. When Gulf Coast residents went to bed Wednesday evening, Hurricane Danny was headed toward the Texas coast. Predictions on where the storm would come ashore leaned toward Galveston and Beaumont. By sunup, however, all of that had changed. Through the night, Hurricane Danny had swerved to the east, changing directions drastically and aiming at a populace which, for the most part, was still asleep. By midday Thursday, the direction of Danny was more clear, and the warning to take precautions spread easterly across Louisiana. Eyewitness news crews were spread out in front of the storm, and using our exclusive news satellite, News Star 2, we were able to accurately monitor the movements of the storm and report what was happening instantly.
Just within the past 30 or 40 minutes, we've noticed that the rain intensity has picked up. The wind velocity is beginning to pick up very strong here in the Kaplan area.
Positioned directly in the path of the storm also allowed us to record its effects firsthand. So tonight on Eyewitness News at 6, we'll take a look at the effects of the storm on residents, agriculture, businesses, and we'll also see how Baton Rouge weathered the storm. Again, that's tonight on Eyewitness News at 6. And now that the storm is ashore, the question tonight, Pat Shingleton, is what does it mean for Baton Rouge?
Quite a bit of rain, scattered showers. The bulk of the activity will fall between Lake Charles and Lafayette, but for Baton Rouge, we anticipate a little bit of wind. We also anticipate sporadic showers through the night. Therefore, tornado watch still remains in effect through the evening hours. And with that, we also have a flash flood watch. Conditions still favorable for the flooding of some low-lying areas and streets in the Baton Rouge area. Anytime we can get a 3 to 5 inch rain, and you know that causes problems. So be on the lookout for that tonight. Also look for tomorrow for the winds to decrease a little bit. Cloud cover will lift a little bit. We should have great improvement on this storm by weekend. Take a look now. We'll show you some graphics on it. Here's the visual indicating that quite a bit of cloud cover still exists with it. First, the course of Danny as it continued to move through the slot, project on up in the areas of Louisiana. 30.0 north, 92.7 west is where it is currently located. Approximately between, as mentioned, Lake Charles and Lafayette. Winds are 68, moving northwest at 10. Radar imagery on it as indicating. A clear defined eye now indicated on the radar right between Lake Charles and Lafayette. And with that, I guess we won't show you the radar. We'll show you that a little bit later in the newscast, but that's the effects that Danny will have on Baton Rouge right now.
Okay, Patrick, thank you very much. In the meantime, we are standing by, and John Pasterek is standing by. Let's go now to John Pasterek for this live update. John?
Thank you, Ed. John Pasterek along with Terry Burhans reporting live via News Star 2 in Kaplan, Louisiana. And Terry, of course, the man, Danny, has moved ashore, but he's diminished somewhat. But
we caught the western wall, the eastern wall of Danny as it went to the west of us here in Kaplan, Louisiana, between 2:45 and 4 o'clock this afternoon. Winds were, if Danny had 95-mile-an-hour winds, we had them here, because our News Star vehicle was rocking back and forth. You couldn't walk in the wind. It was extremely heavy, and you even experienced some first-hand flash flooding. Pass that on a little bit.
The lower half of Iberia Parish, which is, of course, the eastern side of where the hurricane came ashore, there's an area down there that's a recreation center, Cypremont Point, which is down there in the lower half of Iberia Parish. And it's a recreation area, and what happened when the tides came in, it just flooded out a lot of streets. And actually, there are some residents that are trapped down in those areas.
You witnessed the rising of the water very rapidly.
We almost got trapped in there, Terry. And it was incredible to see the water come up that fast. We got out just in the nick of time. And I understand there are some residents who are trapped down there. with mobile homes and camps and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They tried to get out, but obviously didn't have enough time.
John, where we are here in Kaplan was at the extreme punch of this storm. They say the northeastern quadrant is the heaviest. Well, we were right on the wall of that northeastern quadrant. And I talked with Pat this afternoon on the phone at 3 o'clock, and I couldn't see 30 yards in front of me, and the vehicles were shaking and the wind was coming. We had pea-size hail, and we had winds that were just really blowing and going. The staff, you and Kathy Berryman, Mike Ross, Mike Haley, all the people that are down here, Tiny Lagatuda, Chet Giat, we're all in the field gathering all of this information, and you will see that information at 6 o'clock, plus we'll have another insert at the end of this program. It has been one heck of a day for Hurricane Danny to come in.
Danny is diminished, but he is still causing some problems for folks here in South Louisiana. We just toured the town of Kaplan. For example, many trees are down. There's no power in the town of Kaplan.
Power was out at the school here for 3 hours.
A light pole almost fell down. All kinds of signs are scattered around the city. The winds continue to blow.
They estimated 8-inch rains. Well, I bet you we had between 8 and 10-inch rains right here at the school. You can see the lake behind us with the red ants out in front of the Kaplan High School. Let's throw it back to them.
Okay, this is John Pasternak with Terry Bearhands reporting live from Kaplan. Let's go back to the set.
John, Terry, thank you both. He mentioned homeowners and evacuees. Well, they aren't the only ones displaced by the fury of Hurricane Danny. A wet Louisiana traveler, Leo Honeycutt, stopped through some farmland on the windiest side of Hurricane Danny today, and he's here now with us to tell us some of the effects on Louisiana farmers for whom Danny didn't exactly come at a good time.
No, I'm afraid not. That's right, Ed. It didn't come at a good time. Farmers have been beset by either bad crop years or poor prices or both over the last several years. So now with Hurricane Danny, there is yet another major problem.
Weather experts say once a hurricane moves inland, it usually spawns tornadoes on its eastern edge. That means farmers in south central Louisiana could be in for the worst. Lafayette Parish County agent Herbert Thompson says though some crops, such as corn, have been harvested, rice, soybeans, and sugarcane are still out on the path of Hurricane Danny.
Danny is not helping it at all, and it is very discouraging when you got your crop at the liberty of every whim and fancy of the weatherman.
Thompson says half the crops in Lafayette Parish could be lost entirely. Eldridge Hanks had barely started harvesting his rice when Hurricane Danny blew in. He says more than half his crop is still in the field and he has no crop insurance.
Besides being hurt with the economy and the price we're getting for these crops, we're going to get hurt a little bit by the weather.
Hank says hurricanes aren't new to him and that he may even be able to salvage much of his rice if the weather clears when Danny disintegrates. But if the winds and rain continue, he and farmers like him throughout South Louisiana will suffer a multi-million-dollar loss, from which some in these hard economic times will not recover.
That is the story. Hurricane Danny will likely be the last straw for some farmers, but most of them I talked to said that even without crop insurance, they'll just go right back in, make the most of what's left, and start all over next year.
I guess they're used to that, Leo.
I guess they are. They should be by now. There's been enough bad years.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Andrea?
Coming up next on the Eyewitness News Magazine, Deborah Davidson reports live on what Baton Rouge did to prepare for Hurricane Danny.
And we'll also take a look at some of the problems faced here in the capital city. This and a lot more still to come.
Winn-Dixie's Backyard America, lots of cooking going on. Backyard America, Winn-Dixie calls it home. Put on the steaks and cut up the pies, it's time for eating and friendly ties. Backyard America, Winn-Dixie calls it home.
Serve WD brand U.S. Choice boneless rump roast for just $1.39 a pound.
Winn-Dixie's Backyard America.
We're America's supermarket.
Running smooth and silent. Exxon, Exxon. Running strong and sure. Exxon, Exxon. Running smooth and easy. Running with the tiger.
When you buy Exxon gasoline, count on the convenience of your Exxon credit card or pay cash and save with Exxon's discount for cash.
Running smooth and easy. With the tiger. Exxon.
8 a.m. Apply new iFix primer from Elizabeth Arden. It makes shadow glide on, controls creasing and fading, keeps going as long as you do. Noon, no touch-up needed. 4 p.m., still no streaking. 8 p.m., eyes look great. Midnight, wow.
Thanks, iFix.
Keep eye makeup beautiful all day, all night with new iFix from Elizabeth Arden.
Just $16.50 with any Elizabeth Arden purchase of $8 or more at Godshaw's. Come on, we haven't much time.
We'll make it, He-Man. There it is, in that rock.
Stand back.
It's here, only at Burger King. A He-Man Cup for your kids. Treat them to a different He-Man comic strip cup every week.
Excellent.
4 cups to collect and play with. To get one, just buy the Burger King meal pack. A hamburger or cheeseburger, regular fries, and a soft drink.
Come and get me.
Burger King.
Welcome back to the News Magazine. It's now 13 minutes after the hour. While the full force of Hurricane Danny will not hit the Baton Rouge area, people in the capital city have prepared anyway. Eyewitness News reporter Deborah Davidson has traveled the city throughout the day. Deborah, it's been a very long day for you. We know we saw you this morning on TuneIn. How well prepared were Baton Rougeans?
They were very well prepared. Here in downtown Baton Rouge, the weather has changed by the minute. There are strong gusts of winds one minute, and then almost clear skies, and then rain the next minute. Now, Baton Rouge was not the center of activity for Hurricane Danny, but it was a center of activity for coordinating the efforts to fight the storm. Just before daybreak in Baton Rouge, the weather and the residents seemed calm.
Not really. Nothing to be worried about, that's life. That's life, just got to deal with it.
But as word got out that Hurricane Danny had suddenly shifted directions, Baton Rouge dealt with the realization that the state was under siege and the city was the command center. The Red Cross headquarters had the phones manned with volunteers, directing the opening of shelters for evacuees across the state. And at the Office of Emergency Preparedness, various state agencies coordinated their activities. They made plans to send in teams to assess damages after the storm deals its final blow. To protect the fruit of their labor, a construction crew began shoring walls against the pounding wind. Meanwhile, there was a run in grocery stores for flashlight batteries, bottled water, and canned goods.
We started yesterday afternoon, 3 o'clock. We saw the business coming in, and we've all through the night. In fact, as early as this morning, 4 o'clock, we had quite a few people shopping in the store.
Now, hopefully, those people won't have to use those supplies they stocked up on. But with these periodic rains, there could be some flooding, so those supplies may come in handy. This is Deborah Davidson reporting live from downtown Baton Rouge. Now back to you.
Okay, Deborah, best policy, be prepared.
You're exactly right. While Hurricane Danny, Ed, was fairly kind to the Baton Rouge area weather-wise, there were some other problems. Sporadic foul weather put better than 600 utility customers in the dark, and several Gulf States Utilities trucks in the rain, working. This outage occurred on Florida Boulevard near Harco, and by the time it was repaired, several others were out. Some customers remain in the dark at this hour. And telephone operators here had more than their hands full. Their ears were barraged with phone call after phone call. The lines to southwest Louisiana were jammed with people trying to find out whether family members were safe in the storm. Ed?
All right, we'll take a quick break here, and we'll be back to talk with Pat Shingleton, and we'll also be going live to Miami to the National Hurricane Center. More in just a minute.
The following information on hurricanes is brought to you in the public interest by City National Bank. When your area receives a hurricane warning, protect your windows with boards, shutters, or tape. Fuel your vehicle. Save several days' water supply. If your home is sturdy and on high ground, stay indoors during the hurricane. Leave mobile homes for more substantial shelter. For additional severe weather information, sponsored as a public service by City National Bank, stay tuned to TV2.
Different names for Italian pie. We call it Priazzo, baked fresh every day, only at Pizza Hut.
Del Monte vegetables are picked and cooked the same day to help seal in nutrition in regular or with no salt, no artificial additives or preservatives.
You work hard with your body, so you better treat it right.
Del Monte vegetables, nutrition that works.
Come on, tell him. This is my dad's jacket. It was made for me. And this is my mom's diet drink. It wasn't made for me either. But there is one sugar-free drink made for kids. Sugar-free Kool-Aid. The only one with that awesome Kool-Aid taste.
With vitamin C and 100% NutraSweet.
Moms, you loved Kool-Aid as a kid. Because it's made for kids. Yeah.
It's the one sugar-free for kids.
17 minutes after the hour of 5, and we're going to go to Miami, right?
Yeah, last couple of days we've had a great opportunity to get a variety of opinions from a lot of people, not only Dr. Frank, but meteorologist in charge John Mosley through our technologies. And we go back there again today. Dr. Frank, good afternoon. I'm Pat Shingleton, WBRZ TV2. How are you today?
Good afternoon to you.
Dr. Frank, could you update us right now on Hurricane Danny? What's the status now from your perspective?
Well, the storm has moved inland, and so the center is well inland on the Louisiana coast today. It passed midway between Lake Charles and Lafayette, and the center should progress on up into the state this evening, which means that the threat of any kind of severe conditions along the coastal line is completely over now. Winds and seas will gradually subside down there, and hopefully tomorrow we can return to normal. The main threat now is the heavy rains that are being spread up into the state and the possibility of maybe a tornado.
Yesterday, Dr. Frank, we relied on satellite imagery and also Air Force reconnaissance to get additional information. I guess today we will again rely on our feeds from Lake Charles, Lafayette, Alexandria, and fed to you at the Hurricane Center in Miami. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, no question about it. You know, we look at the hurricane through the eyes of the weather satellite, through the eyes of the reconnaissance airplanes, and certainly through the eyes of the coastal radars, but we're also relying very heavily on reports from stations within Louisiana tonight.
Dr. Frank, I think your office has to be commended on the fact that the evacuation and lead time on this storm was very, very good. We had reports last night that our crews and some other personnel officials down there were the only one remaining in the Cameron area. So what did you think about the fact that there was enough lead time for the evacuation of that area?
Well, you really don't have a problem in Cameron. The people, I don't think, will ever forget the 1957 Audrey. And you don't have problems down on Grand Island. And the thing that really gave us concern is we might not have given enough lead time because the storm was strengthening quite rapidly.
I see. Dr. Frank, you've been inundated probably with a lot of weather questions throughout the day. One final question. How do you think the Miami Dolphins are going to do this year?
Good question. We don't even know who's going to play for us.
Well, I'll tell you what, you did a good job on this particular storm. We appreciate the time you've spent with us here on TV2, checking things out with Danny, and I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to talk to you again later.
Okay, good evening now.
Thanks, Dr. Frank. And that's the way it stands right now. We'll be back at 6 and hopefully chat with them again and see what's going on.
We'll also be back after this with, I believe, some more local weather,
yes,
right?
Indeed. We'll check it all out.
The following information concerning flood safety rules is brought to you in the public interest by City National Bank. On foot, never attempt to cross flowing floodwaters if the water is above your knees. If you are driving on flooded roads and your vehicle stalls, abandon it immediately and seek higher ground. If you are caught by rising floodwaters, don't try to swim for safety. Wait for help. Stay tuned to Channel 2 for more information regarding severe weather safety. Sponsored as a public service by City National Bank.
All Shoetown celebrate our grand opening sale. Tennis, $388 and $588. Women's sports shoes, $1088. Women's and men's Nike joggers, $1788. Men's Nike, Converse, and Kangaroos, $1788. Suede boots, $1588. Velcro joggers, $988. Women's tops, $12.99. New Talent jeans, $14.99. Men's Levi shirts, $10.99. French Star jeans, $14.99 during the grand opening sale at all Shoetown.
With all the talk about supermarkets, it's good to know there's one right in your neighborhood that's quick, convenient, has terrific low prices, and makes you feel good every time you come in. It's your neighborhood Blue Ribbon supermarket. Check this week's newspaper ad for exceptional low prices. We're Bedar, Blue Ribbon, Buster's, High Neighbor Superstore, Laura Lee, Reeves, and Villa Oaks. We're your Blue Ribbon family of Baton Rouge supermarkets.
At Blue Ribbon,
we're putting you first.
Right. 21 after 5, plenty more rain tomorrow and into the weekend.
Yeah, through tonight and tomorrow we'll still feel the effects of the storm. As Dr. Frank had said, that we'll still see the shower activity and the high winds and whatnot. Probably a good night to maybe have a nice little glass of Geritol, listen to some Slim Whitman albums, and read a novel.
That's not exactly what I'd like to do on a night like tonight. But
well, whatever you want to do, Andrea.
Now you see what
You're
your
21.
mind is. I'm over 21.
Just
But
kidding.
anyway.
It's been a couple of long days. Oh, welcome back, incidentally.
Thank you. Got back just in time for the hurricane.
Yes, indeed. Let's check now. We'll show you the progress of this storm as it built through southern areas just south of Cuba, continued to gather momentum and move through the slot. We'll go ahead and go to the visual right now, indicating that through the course of the afternoon and through last night, there was quite a bit of shower activity with us. Now that, incidentally, is not the visual we wanted to go to. We wanted to go ahead and roll that 1-inch tape, Clark, that we have back there that has all of this information on there, and we'll be able to update. There you go. You can see the storm right there, continuing to track up through the slot and move into the central portions of the Gulf through the afternoon hours. And this was on Monday and Tuesday, and of course, as it gathered momentum, we thought it was going to take more of a northwesterly drift, but it continued to track to the north, and it is presently, as mentioned, ashore and moving across these areas. We're going to give you an update on coordinates right now. Let's take a look at that. 30.0 north, 92.7 west between Lake Charles and Lafayette, wind 68, moving northwest at 10. Here you can see the image along with it of the rapid-fire movement with it on the animation, and this is the present storm. Also on the radar, through the course of the afternoon, you can see the spiral bands on it extending out through the Gulf with the waves of shower activity all the way back through Alexandria. Currently, right now, the map indicates the poorly defined eye breaking up, no intensity along with it. You can see also that there's massive cloud cover extending from East Texas all the way back through Mississippi and Alabama, and also to the northern quadrant of the Gulf. Tremendous amount of cloud cover with it, precipitation as well, scattered showers remaining, lots of winds, and look at the composite on the radar. Virtually most of the state is inundated with light to moderate to heavy rain stretching as far east as Pensacola, as far north as southern areas of Illinois and Indiana, where it's hooking up now with a stationary front. This current radar shot now from our wide area radar network out of Lake Charles indicates for you that the distinct eye right now in between Lake Charles and Lafayette continuing on its progress now to the north with scattered showers and periods of rain right along with it. Here again, those spiral bands extending out. So Hurricane Danny, let's update it again, once again for you on your tracking chart. You will see the coordinates popping up now that indicate 30.0 north, 92.7 west, still between Lake Charles and Lafayette, wind 68 miles per hour, moving northwest at 10. For tonight in the Baton Rouge area, a tornado watch is presently in effect. A flash flood watch remains in effect. And for the viewing area, our forecast is calling for, yes, lots of clouds out there, gusty winds, plenty of rain in and around, scattered showers, and an overnight low tonight, 73. Now here's your current stats. 77 degrees of present temp, 88% on the relative humidity. Our barometer now 29, 68 dropping here in Baton Rouge. And Lafayette, it's 29, 21 dropping. Southeast winds at 21. They're gusting at times to about 35. So flash flood watch for tonight. Tornado watch as well. Conditions are favorable still for the development of some tornadoes in and around. There is a possibility, as you know, anytime we get a 3 to 5 inch rainfall here in the Baton Rouge area, it could create some flooding. Windy, stormy, projected low, as mentioned, about 71 degrees. So that's the way it stacks up right now. If we look again now at a live radar out of Lake Charles, it is indicating there is a tremendous amount of shower activity right along with Danny and Andrea and Ed. You can see as that storm moved across, it still retains that distinctive configuration of a classic hurricane, even though it was a minimal hurricane with 75 mile per hour winds. That central area right there between Lake Charles and Lafayette that you see is virtually maybe cloud-free, but definitely rain-free with the spiral bands extending out, providing shower activity. So to summarize, tonight we will watch for continued rain in and around, off and on, windy, gusty, but for Baton Rouge, I think we're going to be A-OK. Tornado watch remains in effect, flash flood watch too.
We don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but this was a pretty classic case, wasn't it? We were able to watch its progress, we were able to prepare ahead of time, to cover it, and stay on top of it, pretty much like a textbook.
Yeah, in effect that it had the opportunity to grow a little bit in the Gulf, regardless of how short the time was.
Thank goodness it didn't.
Yes, thank you very much, Patrick. Coming up next on the Eyewitness News Magazine, we'll be going live again to Kaplan, Louisiana via News Star 2, where the effects of Hurricane Danny are still being felt.
These jeans are the exact same style you'd find in the more expensive stores. But Joan got them at Walmart for just $9.94. She had to tell Susie. So Susie went to Walmart and she found these jeans for only $9.94. And she told Sally. And look at the jeans she found at Walmart for just $9.94. Walmart's great-looking jeans for back to school. Only $9.94 every day.
That's real savings. That's the Walmart way.
Meet Doug Higgins. He's in his mid-30s. He's in business for himself, and he's in trouble. It started years ago when nights of drinking and cocaine often followed the closing of important deals. But what started as a social thing ended as a dependency that wrecked Doug's life. Fortunately, Parkland Hospital's Silkworth Center showed Doug how to kick his habit, and today, Doug is back at work and back on the right track.
Thanks, Parkland.
Isn't it nice to know there's a facility here in Louisiana that can help people like Doug, or you or me? Parkland Hospital.
Take a beautiful drive for a beautiful deal and get a free chainsaw with any truck purchase. Hendrick Chevrolet in New Roads has the greatest selection of step-side pickups in Louisiana. Choose a 2- or 4-wheel drive equipped the way you like it at a low, low Hendrick Chevrolet price with 8.8% financing and get a free chainsaw. So take a beautiful drive today for your beautiful deal and get 8.8% financing on CRK 10s and 20s and a free chainsaw with any truck, Blazer, or Astro. Hendrick Chevrolet in New Roads.
We're coming up on 27 minutes after the hour, and it's time now to join Jay Young and Terry Burhans, who are standing by live just outside the Kaplan High School in Kaplan, Louisiana, on the Louisiana Gulf Coast. Gentlemen?
We're gonna come back for our graduation because we've become so attached to the high school here.
This is my comrade in climatology. Actually, the high school wasn't all that comfortable at first because the lights were out, air conditioning down, and they got that back on at about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
For 3 hours. Ed, we theorized finally that Danny probably gained strength by pausing at the Gulf Coast, came in and unleashed its punch right here on us, the New Star. Didn't break any glass, but the winds went crazy. I'm telling you, it was so hard. And the rain is probably over 10 inches for us here. I don't know what we had in Baton Rouge. Pat was probably telling you, but we had over 10 inches here.
Yeah. I don't want to guess at some of this, but I think the winds were up to 100 miles per hour late this afternoon.
Yeah, we were getting
southerly winds and westerly winds.
You didn't see people walking in the outdoors. It was just dangerous to walk out here. It was slippery and very windy.
Pea gravel flying all over the place. Now, what you're seeing is a video of some of the areas that were greatly affected down on the coast. The worst of it, of course, is around Pecan Island, Cameron Parish, Sycamore Point, Terry, as you said, where about 100 people have been trapped, and John Pasternak himself barely got out in time to bring his video up. That's right. He'll be back here at 6. Our lead story will be from Pecan Island, and Mike Ross, who went back this afternoon and got some outstanding footage of what's going on down there. After that, Terry...
This is Rice Farmers Capital, and
yes, it is.
Kathy Berriman's going to talk about the agricultural aspect, how it hurt them.
The problem here is that a lot of the wind so heavy and the rain hit at harvest time when all the grain is very ripe falling down. This is Jay Young with Terry Burhans reporting live by satellite from Kaplan, Louisiana.
Okay, fellas, thank you very much. Stay dry. All right, in the meantime, that's going to wrap up the Eyewitness News magazine for now on a day of coverage via satellite from Miami.
That's right.
Kaplan, Louisiana, Cameron earlier in the day, you name it. Pat Shinglin's been in all day, so is Kurt Lee. And in the meantime, we're going to say goodnight. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll have a lot more on Hurricane Danny tonight at 6. I'm Ed Buggs.
I'm Andrea Clessy. Let's now go to ABC's World News Tonight.